What's good, YouTube? And welcome to $800 pre-sales on Dragon Master Magia. That's what happens when Konami locks a Blue Eyes collectible behind quarter century secret rare and there's no other way to get it. Hello, 10,000 Dragon. Now, I actually think this card has a little more collector appeal than 10,000 Dragon, but there's no promise that Konami won't just re-wave and reprint this somewhere else later. And it's also the cover card of the set, which is ironic. It's the most wanted, seen card by casuals and collectors, yet it is only pulled in 1 out of 6 cases. Konami's trying to make that super collectible card that's $4 in the OCG, but here we live in the TCG, and we have a much different market where people are now clicking and spending $600 a piece on 3 of these bad boys. We're not talking informed shoppers. You can still get these cheaper at Gamer's Choice code What's Good 5 for 5% off and support the channel directly. And if I were to heavily speculate with how the money is actually being spent during this range versus how many will appear after mass cases are opened, I think around $550 might be where it truly does land. We saw that Tier 0 sold out of theirs at $467. The early pre-sale sold out at $300. Now people are paying more, but the floodgates haven't opened. In fact, it could start, at $425, $450, and then go up from there, and then come back down and start doing its rounds. But 10,000 Dragons actually done nothing but go down over time. This was $1,250, went all the way up towards $2,000, if you'll remember, and now it sits at the low of $850 outside of the cardboard boom. And with that, it's Chaos Emperor Dragon as a fountain pen. It's still pretty cool in the legacy of the game, but the effect's not all that. This is actually playable in casual Blue Eyes decks. It's a multiple negate per turn. You can cheese it out relatively easily by replacing that Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon with a fusion substitute thing. I feel like that this is a power move by Konami to try to breathe life back into collectibles. People are already like, well, people are going to cry when it's in the 10s. That's some hopium, but you never do know what Konami is going to do with their cards and where they're going to put them. And again, pre-sales over here are pretty ridiculous. Ray at 300. What do they have it? They have it 170, 169 on Gamer's Choice. They're not going to be grounded in reality when we're talking about just these few sellers on this platform that is reaching tens of thousands of buyers that are going, okay, yeah, I've got a little bit of FOMO, I'll click buy. So these are not real prices. It's more for entertainment that we even talk about TCG Player and that PSA of, hey, look around, shop around, and consider things do fall after pre-sales depending on what they are, but I do think the people that bought at 300s are likely winners on Dragon Master Magia when it comes to battles. Now, never make fun of a structure deck for too long. When this was clearanced, I was pointing and laughing, and that still holds up to some degree. Look, you can still get these relatively cheap for the entire displays, but multiple Ice Barrier cards are now spiking. You might recall originally these structure decks spiked when the Frogs were seeing a bit of popularity with Sprite. Well, now Revealer of the Ice Barrier and Speaker do not get reprints, while other cards in here actually do get holo upgrades, like Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier, which was being speculated on, and General Wayne of the Ice Barrier. These two are seeing some reprint action, so be aware that Revealer is absolutely spiking and going crazy right now, and is like a $5 card if you have it sitting maybe around towards your bulk section. It shouldn't have ever been there because it was still like $1 to $2 for a while, but when it comes down to it, this might be a card that's money that you didn't know was. Dark Ruler No More is seeing a bit more play during the WCQ National season. You can see if we click the 1 month graph, it's nothing but up over the last month, and now really starting to take back off towards $30 for the quarter century secret rare. One thing I love about Rarity Collection, you can have a nice holo original from the 10s now for under $2 if you want that prismatic secret rare, or you can go a different version of high or low rarity at a decent price, or go all in on a quarter century secret rare if that's what makes you feel good. But when it comes down to it, there is interest in this card, so you might want to get the version that you want while they are still cheaper. Luckily, things will stay cheaper for a long time on the lower end thanks to the anniversary rarity collections. That includes the second one that we'll be covering later. But when it comes down to this specific card, it's a power card, and so is Evenly Matched, which was supposed to be my next card. This is what happens when you have so many tabs. We have, I believe, it's Dark Fusion and a Dusted Gold getting some buyouts for Infernoids. I'm skipping around here trying to find the right tabs. But seriously, this Fusion Summon one Fiend Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. This just lets you go ham with Infernoids and also gives a little extra protection. Your opponent cannot target it with card effects this turn. So it's actually not for a past format or max rarity hero that Secret Rare Dark Fusion is getting bought out from Speed Duels, which is a very nice rarity on it. I love the gloss. But yeah, this has been bought out to the point of like $6 and then quickly $10 with sales in the $5 range throughout as the buyout went on. So be aware, Infernoid's getting a little love, and Evil Hero Adusted Gold, Secret Rare specifically, has gone the most up over time and is coming back up here after falling out a little bit, and it's for that specific reason. Now there's Evenly Matched. The Quarter Century Secret Rare has had some movement during the WCQ season, but look at all these nice versions you can get cheap too. It's why I love Rarity Collection, giving both options. It's the model we should probably be on the whole time when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, isn't it? But if we again clip out the 3-month graph and go to the 1 month, it is pretty much nothing but up during this time, but it's fallen back out from the other reigns of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Now it's back up towards being a $40 card. I know I've sounded like a broken record, but when it comes to Rarity Collection 1, you should probably have the cards you want out of there already at this point. Speaking of Infernoids, a Light Fiend has been making a rebound to mix in with the Fiend aspect. Santa Claus as a removal option has been creeping back in price for every single version. So just be aware this card is getting a little bit of love again, and that's probably the deck that likes it the most. When it comes to the Live Twins, a lot of these have come way down in price over time. People are shaky on collector rares with the 25th reprints. Some people were hoping to see this get some love in Rarity Collection. It did not. So you might want to be getting the versions of these you want if you are playing it. But I'm hearing that this will mix in relatively good with our level 1 Light Fiends coming on out. And also it can mix in with plenty of other decks. But yeah, this is definitely an interesting take to see multiple things starting to come back up in price. Like Live Twin Sunny Snitch is just starting to climb once again. If you go to the 1 month, it's doing nothing but climbing now, and it's still available under if you're shopping sellers smartly, but it's not always easy to do that. When I look at the Evil Twins, we did cover the Kisi Kill and Leela actual main deck monster buyout for probably Ultimate Slay, but some prices are getting attention over here. Like we see that the collector rare out of Genesis Impact, when this deck actually gets traction, this is the first card that goes, has been doing nothing but slowly going up, but not like skyrocketing or anything crazy. And Secret Password 2 is getting a little bit of attention this month and has gone back towards, you know, 60, 70 cents, not the craziest thing, but just be aware people are buying up these cards to actually play with Fiendsmith. 25th Anniversary Rarity Collection 2 has continued to go down in price for almost everything. I want to say my most underestimated card might be either Polymerization or Magician's Souls. Now, Polymerization, for me, it does have competition coming with the new hero version of, as I brought up. It has a new art in the OCG. Hey, speaking of Live Twins, when will we get the Evil Twin alter arts? But when it comes specifically to Poly, it has such a history in the game. It's in the first set, and actually having another one might make people want it even more. And seeing it on the front page, even if it's in the last place, does remind me, hey, this card even finds its ways into modern decks when it's searchable. So I feel like this is a card that has a huge potential, if it cycles back in that way, to actually go up in price in the future. People will then argue first edition versus this, oh, it's just a super, but it's LOB. First, that LOB will always be highest rarity. But then you have now 2 alter arts for this card, and a 25th. I feel like the 25th will do well over time. Magician Souls is a collectible for the Yugi camp, which I feel like I've underestimated a little the power of this card, and this price is like 1/3 what it was when it debuted at 60, and the card's been a $100 card before, so I definitely think that the 25th of this over time could be towards 40, 50 pretty easily, and is one I've underestimated versus the rest set. My overestimated, I suppose, is Crossout Designator. Even though it's lower quantities, it's done nothing but mostly go down in price. So that's again to show Yu-Gi-Oh! Is extremely speculative. You can know everything that you have, and sometimes a set just flops on its face past what you think it would, and I did think this would be a flop in the immediate, but even the cards that I thought would be strongest, they're just not really holding as quantities continue to list, especially for Droll. It's good old national season, and you can guess what was doing very good with Jess and other duelists in the EU regions. It's plants. I said that Ragnarika, in my opinion, would be something to get, and the quarter century secret rare, it's not doing the craziest things, but it's up towards $49, $50 up a couple, and you can see those sales rates definitely track throughout the weekend versus previous. It's like doing a lot more than it had done all month. And if you just want a version of this card, it hasn't exactly skyrocketed, but I would get this sooner than later using that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying, because it is definitely starting to trail up a little bit despite the tons of listings, because look at the sales rates on I just want a version of this card of this 3 of. Oh yeah, there's a full day of it. It keeps going, still on that same day, and then we're finally out of there a bit. So sales rate's definitely up on this card, and it's up a couple of dollars. Bloom is a one of, I believe, with how it was played, and it's around 34 at least for now, and that's for the plant pile. It's still a pretty good card, but again, it being played less of, you only need one if you're, playing the engine and you want to play it that way. So $9 makes sense. It's not like it's doing the craziest. Other cards that were in the deck were Therion Lily Borea. I've noticed this still only has 2 printings, and people don't want to open those 25th anniversary tins. Yeah, there's plenty listed, so it's more if you like the OG, it's something to pay attention to. Trailing up back a little right now, but not the craziest. So it's a pretty good time to pick it up. Regulus only has 2 printings. This is easily an engine that could come back, and it was also played. It actually spiked a bit before and has started to come back down towards $3. So really great time to grab that. Rika Sheet was played as a one of, and I don't believe has an actual reprint, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. Rika Sheet, yeah, only has the 1 copy, so this might be something you want to get, because even as a one of, it only has the 1 version. Out of freaking Secret Slayers, that's a set that has a huge overpriced history, and then Bengal Lancer is actually back down versus some of the hype of reveals and sets being here, etc. It's around $8 to $9. I've seen it hit 20 multiple times, so it's a pretty good time to buy it. I will say, though, plants don't tend to perform in the NAWCQ the same, but I expect to actually see a couple in Top Cut, like more than 1. I expect to see 2 or 3 over here doing their thing, and I do think it's a deck that gets underestimated where people brush it off that way. You laugh at it, but are you playtesting enough against it? So definitely these are cards that are good to have access to if you're interested in the deck, and be aware there's a lot of things that deserve reprints at this point that have just been glossed over for a long time. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the more in-depth conversations. I enjoy going in at stuff like this Dragon Master Magia. It's definitely got a lot of people heated, though, so it's an interesting one to talk about. I don't tread lightly. I don't walk on eggshells. And when it comes down to it, a Blue Eyes collectible is going to do a little something different than 10,000 Dragon, but also, where will the reprint land for this if there's a reprint? That's the interesting conversation, too. And then what would having an access version of the card do to the quarter century price that is still highly collectible? It's a weird road to actually think about.